Welcome, everybody, to Geekvice, episode 218, proving any vice with enough geek can become a virtue. My name's Morph. That man's Kip. Good evening, Kip.
Good evening.
We are back for another episode, and it has been, it's been a week. So, what have you been doing for this last week?
Well, I just got home today from a 3-day trip to Fayetteville, Arkansas. So I have that.
Why did you go to Fayetteville, Arkansas?
Well, we have a new office down there, and
Oh,
it's
do
time
you?
to start training them to become one of the pack.
Gotcha. That's, yeah. Fayetteville is a place in Arkansas.
Yeah, it's actually gorgeous down there. You know, it's tree lined, it's hilly. You know, it's not humid down there yet, so the weather wasn't too terrible.
Well, that's good. Yeah. Oh, Jesus. I got music playing in the background now.
You're just doing stuff.
Yeah. It's like, that's what I get. You know, that's one of the downsides to, like, I hate these websites that have music in that just automatically plays. So I've got my tablet over here on IMDb for our Lost in Space discussion, and apparently an ad started running in there, and the volume was turned up on my tablet, probably because the kids were watching something on my tablet. So it's like, well,
Yeah, sure, blame the kids.
well, maybe it was me. It could have been me. I know I was watching if it would have been my phone, I'd have been like, yeah. So it was because I was watching the sporting game while I was at my kid's soccer practice tonight on my phone. So, yeah, that's my fault. But not on my tablet. So, I don't know. What are we going to do? Anyway, I'm going to ramble a lot tonight probably because it's just been one of those days running around crazy, doing all kinds of stuff. I'm getting a new concrete patio poured in my backyard right out out that window that you could see over my shoulder right there. There's I'm getting a big, like, 23 foot by 13 foot patio poured.
Dang.
And it's the guys came out today, and I tore up all the stuff that was already there, so I did all the demo work, and now they're doing they came out and did all the first prep work. They did all the framing for the concrete, laid the rebar, that kind of stuff, and so they had to do a little bit more digging than they anticipated when they came out and looked. They thought they were just going to be able to lay the formwork right on top of what was there, and it's not really the case. They had to dig out quite a bit of stuff to lower it down. Because I didn't have, which was part of the problem, which is why I'm getting a patio, I didn't have positive drainage away from my house. It kept running
Oh,
back to
okay.
my house. So everything was settling up along my house. So my back, you're supposed to have a port, like a small little stoop outside your or outside your walkout door, and mine was sloped back towards the house. Not a good thing. When I'm talking about this stuff, like, all the people listening are going to fully understand civil engineering that you and I both do. They aren't,
Yeah.
and they're probably not even going to give a shit. But
Rainfall, rain slopes to, rain drains into your house. Bad.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, home ownership 101. You
Yeah.
don't want rain in your house.
Rainfall, rain drain away from the house. Good.
Yeah, and it's kind of funny. So they've got a chalk line up along, like, the concrete at my house, like my foundation. They've got a chalk line on there to show kind of where they want to bring the concrete to. And Amber looks at it tonight and goes, "Wow, there's actually not even going to be a step out the back door." I'm like, "No, there's not supposed to be. It's only supposed to be a few inches from your door to the stoop." It's been
Yeah.
it's like a 6 or 8 inch gap is what it's been there because it's settled so much. Like, yeah, this is how it's supposed to be. So it's going to be nice. They're coming out to pour that in the morning, so that'll be good.
Yep, this is what happens when they don't get the subgrade compacted properly.
Right? Right?
There you go. There's the civil engineering nerdery.
So we call this Geekvice because everyone can geek out about their own little vices. Um, Kip and I do geek out occasionally about civil engineering and dirt moving. So,
Yeah,
you
if you
know,
ever pull into a parking lot and there's some guy standing there staring at a storm drain, civil engineer.
yeah, yeah, exactly. And I would, I can't say that I haven't done that before either.
Yeah.
Or just stared at like a parking lot, like some parking spaces where they were just trying to make up grade, and the parking stall is like at a ridiculous slope, just like parking on the side of a mountain while the rest of the parking lot's all flat. Yeah, there's a few of those around this area,
Yep.
and I
Absolutely.
can't take the blame for those. Not me. I didn't do it. So, all right, enough of that shenanigan stuff. Uh, since you were traveling for work, you did get to hang out with Eddie though, right? How was that?
Got to hang out with the Podfather, Eddie.
Yeah.
Also, Justin from Falcon Punch Thunder
Oh,
Dad.
that's
So
right. That's right. Yeah, 'cause all you guys work together, which is scary.
it should scare the entire world. But yeah, it was good. We were actually thinking about podcasting while we were there, but we probably drank too much alcohol and didn't get enough sleep. And by the time it was time to podcast, we were too tired.
Yeah, I can understand that. I can understand that completely. Um, well, I guess a couple things that I should throw out there. One, I found a new game on Steam that I really like. That's not really new. It's old. Called FTL, which is faster than light. It's kind of a. It's a
Is it a
very
Battlestar Galactica thing?
kind of, but very very simplified. It's your spaceship. You have very much like Battlestar Galactica. You have some forces that are chasing you, like the I don't even remember what they call them. But it's like you're a rebel, and it's like these big swarm of bad guys. Like there's no like one ship. It's like a big. It's just a line on the map that says here they're all coming, and they're just sweeping through. And you have to jump from planet to planet, or system from system. I guess planet to planet, and then you get to the end. Then you do like a big FTL jump that gets you like to the next sector. And while you're jumping, you find rebel like ships that you have to fight. You find like um, stores where you can buy more people for your ship. You start out with only 3 guys on your ship, so you can buy more crew to work your ship. You can buy more weapons, different weapons that do different things, do more damage, do different kinds of damage, all this different stuff, and it's really kind of cool. I actually kind of like it, and it plays really quick. It's really simple. You can play through it. I haven't beaten it yet, but I've already played through once where I died all the way. Now I'm playing through it again where I'm getting. I feel like I've gotten a little bit farther, maybe a little more organization to my ship, holding on to some supplies, because you need to keep track of fuel. You need to keep track of missiles and different like energy, and you can upgrade your ship to have more energy, but you need energy to run all your different things, whether it's shields or weapons um, or navigation, that kind of stuff. And if you don't have enough energy, then you can't run certain things. So you gotta not de-energize. That's the wrong word, but turn off some systems to turn on others, and so it's kind of a management type thing. It's really kind of cool, really really simple, really fun. FTL, go check it out. But there was a release that was just yesterday, and I haven't got to play very much of it, but because we didn't record last night, I got to start it, and I've only gone through the very beginning. but Pillars of Eternity 2 Deadfire has finally come out. It was a game I kickstarted a year and a half ago, maybe.
Dang.
Yeah, it was a long time ago. This is a sequel to Pillars of Eternity. It is an RPG, very if you played games like Baldur's Gate or Icewind Dale, this is very much that type of game. If you like playing Dungeons and Dragons, you will love this game. It is it doesn't follow the standard Dungeons and Dragon rules, so they rewrote all the rules to kind of work a little bit differently. But it does an incredible job. It's really balanced. And in the first game, it was a lot of reading. They had some voiceover work, but because it was done in a Kickstarter budget, the first game was, they didn't have as much voice acting put into it. This time, they had the Kickstarter funded in like hours, minutes for what they were looking for. Plus, they had so many companies wanting to put money into it. I even think some of the voice actors might have donated their time to this game because it's such an awesome game that everything is voiceover. So there is every single text, every conversation that's had, every character in the game has a voice. So you don't actually have to read anything, which kind of comes in handy when you start, like when you're tired and playing and you start reading like this big, or you get, in the first game there would be times where you get a giant block of text because it's telling you the backstory of everything and you've got to scroll down really far to be able to read all of it. Don't have to do that now. If it's part of the story, it's all there. Now, I think the fluff, you can find books out there in the game that you can pull up that'll tell you other history and things like that. I'm going to guess if they're not key elements to the game, those you probably are going to have to sit there and read, but you don't have to read them. They're not necessary for the plot. So everything necessary to the plot has been voiceovered. So it's really, so far, just a little bit that I've played, it is amazing. So
That's nice. I like it when the production value goes up like that.
oh, it's incredible. And the voice actors that are doing it, you've heard me talk about Critical Role on Geek and Sundry. All the voice actors from Critical Role are in this game. So that is kind of awesome. They are also in the game. They all have voice packs in the game. So if you can create a character and use a voice from one of their Critical Role campaign setting, you can use one of them as your voice. So it's really kind of cool. It's very neat. So go check out that game if you haven't checked it out
neat.
yet. Pillars of Eternity 2 Deadfire. So go check it out. I don't know if I'll end up putting any of the episodes or recording anything for Geekvice Gaming with that one. Maybe I'll do some really early game stuff if I don't suck really bad at it. I tried to record the first one and I sucked so bad at it that it didn't make for very good video recording, if you catch my drift.
Yeah.
My Geekvice Gaming stuff's not exactly world class anyway, but playing that game made it even worse. So.
And he can admit it.
I can. I suck at video games. What do you want me to do? Alright, but we are going to get into the really, important things here, which is we're going to talk about Lost in Space. We're going to talk about the old one. We're going to talk about the new one. We're probably going to spoil some things. So, if you haven't finished the Netflix version of this and you want to, you should probably push pause, go finish it, come back and listen to this. That's your spoiler warning for you. How do we start here? Kip has finished the season, right? 10
I have.
episodes. 10 episodes he has finished. I have finished 5 episodes. So I'm halfway done. 4 or 5. Either way. Halfway.
Half-ish.
Half-ish, yeah. After 2 episodes, I wasn't sure I really wanted to finish it. See, how do I explain this? There are some things to this that I just don't like. There are some things that are really good, but there are some things that I really don't like. I'm going to start with, I don't know. We won't even go to depth yet. We'll just go with, I'm not really sure I like it that much. Kip, what are your thoughts?
Okay, so when I was a kid, Lost in Space, the original series, was in syndication, and I think it came on. Yeah, I think it came on in the evening. I can't really remember. I just remember watching it. And I liked it for what it was, which was they were lost in space.
Yes.
They went from planet to planet, a little Star Trekian. You know, they dealt with matters of the day on that planet, whatever hijinks Will got them into or something like that.
Yeah, because their ship still worked in the original one, right?
Yes.
That's how I remembered it.
Yeah. I don't remember how they got lost in space. Sadly, I'll have to revisit that. But
so I think, so while we're in it, I think, at least from what I remember, and this is where some of my problem comes from. I think some of my memory might be a little jaded on what it actually was, but from what I remember, it was kind of similar in that they woke up when they weren't supposed to wake up. They were in a like stasis type thing while they were traveling through space, and something malfunctioned. They woke up when they weren't supposed to because they had gone off course, but they had no idea where they were or how to get back to where they were supposed to be going because they were in an area that had never been explored.
Yeah, and
does that sound right?
Well, this is the funny thing about it. Yeah, this show was created and first aired in 1965. So in the far-flung future of 1997 is when this was supposed to have taken place. And what it is the Earth is dying from massive overpopulation.
Which
I guess if it was written today, it would be Earth is dying because of global warming.
Yeah.
So they find a habitable planet near Alpha Centauri, and they jump in the Jupiter 2, and the Robinson family is selected to, continue the species, I guess, go over there, establish a colony, get it ready for other people. Well, there's an enemy government. I'm not sure enemy of who. Never quite sure. Is it are the Robinsons still part of America and the enemy government is Russia? Or is the government all one world government and the enemy is something else? I don't know.
Right.
But they put Dr. Smith on to sabotage the mission.
So in the original one, that is what they did?
That is exactly what happened. Dr. Smith does some sabotage, causes the ship to go off course. They become lost. Lost in space.
Okay.
So, with that said, the 2018 version should have been renamed, at least season 1, Stranded on a Planet instead of Lost in Space, because they stay on that fucking planet the whole season. And
yeah. Well, because the ship doesn't even work.
Yeah. It does work, but they're out of fuel.
Oh, yeah, I guess that's it. Yeah.
Yeah. So I guess if you're creating an origin story, that was a good place to start. I guess. Um, I have no problem with them taking the narrative and changing the story up. In the original, the robot is Earth made,
Yeah.
just part of the crew. In the new TV show, he's alien.
Yeah.
Uh,
Well, and so while we're getting into some of those differences, like I like the alien. I like the alien in the new one. I like the robot. I like how they did it
yes.
from the point of how Will found it to how it's kind of now become Will's like pet and protector. I like that part of it. What I don't like is these flashbacks back to it attacking the I don't. I would. That doesn't need to be there to me. That's one of my problems with the first, half of the season is there is so much drama for everything else that it's the same problem I had with the zombie TV show that I actually read the comic books for that I forgot the name of. The
Walking
Walking
Dead.
Dead. Yeah. The same problem I had with The Walking Dead, and the same problem I've had a lot with these drama of apocalypse, these apocalyptic drama, is there's so much in drama between all the different people that they're forgetting the fact that they're all going to die if they don't work together. So stop with the stupid drama. So that leads me to the point where in the 2018 version, I absolutely hate Dr. Smith, who's not actually a doctor. She's like a con artist, snuck on this thing for no good reason. She has no reason being there, yet she's always trying to countermine everything that's going on. But yet she has no skills to be able to save her own life if something were to go down.
Right.
If she
But
gets
she's always trying to make it so she's the only person standing, but
yet
she's the only person who can't take care of herself.
right.
I totally agree with you.
It's like, and I absolutely can't stand her in this show. So much so that when she showed up, like the first episode, I was okay with. I'm like, okay, this is all right. Second episode, you found out that she was on a spaceship in the second episode, and that she crashed. And then I think it was the third episode where the Robinsons find her, and I'm like, there it goes. It's done. I'm not even liking it because she's basically screwing over everyone she comes in contact with, but yet she can't do anything.
Yeah.
She needs everyone else to survive. What she should be doing is she should be conning all the people to make them think she's the most important person in the group. That's how a con man would survive in that situation. They
Well,
wouldn't be
the whole
alienating
she's a
herself.
psychologist. If
Yeah.
she would have just stayed with that, they would have let her. She wouldn't have had to do any real physical labor. She could have just sat and talked to people, learned all their secrets that she could use against them later,
Yes.
and have a cush job.
Yes.
And instead, she tries to push things forward, even when they were. You haven't gotten this far, but there's a part where they pretty much have this figured out that they're going to get some things taken care of, and she pretty much sabotages it and fucks it all up. She screwed herself.
Yeah. And
And you're like, I don't understand her end game.
yeah.
So
And
I get that.
and I'm sure it's supposed to be. I'm sure it's supposed to be this idea that she is smarter than everyone else and therefore has this long game that she's trying to play. But when you're stranded on a planet that you have and you can't get off of it, even if you like Like, you physically, your person, even if everything there was functioning and you're not smart enough to be able to get yourself off of it, then you have to you have to assimilate into the group instead
Yeah.
of be alienating. And she is alienating herself. And I don't it just, you know how, like, when we talked about what was it? The Runaways. You and I talked about the Runaways, and you didn't like it because the kids kept making stupid decisions.
Well, the kids are stupid, yes.
Well, the kids were stupid. That's how I feel about this show and some of the decision making that's being done. Now, some of it is out of necessity because they have to do something, but like, I'm at I just watched the episode where Will takes the robot off to a cave because they're trying to hide it from their dad because they know that he is the reason why the space station that they left from is destroyed, and that there's all this other stuff. And but what, like, that's a stupid decision. Why are you going to do that? Like, the robot can protect itself. Like,
Yeah.
you've seen it take shots and it be fine. Like, why are you worried about it? It can't die. Like, that's the thing. Like, they don't those people there have no idea how to destroy it. It is the most powerful thing there. Who cares? Go tell your dad that it destroyed him, but hey, we think it's a good guy. We might want to keep an eye on it, but it's a good guy now. So I mean, those are the decisions that I'm just looking at this like, why?
Yeah.
Why?
Well, I'm going to point out a few things I didn't like about it, and then I'm going to tell you why you should keep watching.
Okay. All right. Well,
Before
you start that, I have to let the dogs in because they're driving me up the wall. So give me 2 seconds.
He's late. That was 2 seconds. I don't know what he's doing. This is why you don't have dogs. You have cats. They stay indoors. They take care of themselves. Oh, he's back.
Oh, yeah. And we were still recording that whole time. So whatever bad stuff you said is going in the show.
Everything I said, I wanted you to hear.
Oh, great. So now I'm going to have to go listen to it so that I can hear it. All right. I'm back.
Okay. So,
tell me.
Lost in Space. I totally agree with you about the Dr. Smith thing. And it gets worse. It gets far worse. So I'm still not pointing out. That's not
selling me on it yet.
Yeah, I'm not making you want to watch the show, but she gets worse. There's a part where they can get back to the space station, but she knows that if we get back to the space station, she's going to be thrown in jail. So she fucks it up so nobody can get there. So, and then she does some things with the robot, makes it even worse. And
yeah, I've seen the part where she has basically, and this is the other thing, nobody knows that the robot's actually sentient. Like, even she doesn't know that this thing is actually sentient, that it fully understands everything that they're saying. And she gets it in the cave and actually blackmails it into helping her.
Oh, no, it gets worse than that.
It gets worse than that?
It gets far worse than that. To the point I didn't want to finish the show myself.
Oh, jeez.
But we did. So, the Dr. Smith thing, pretty bad, pretty awful, makes it really hard to watch. Everything they did, this is number 2 of what I didn't like about the show. Everything they did turned into a race against the clock. To the point I told a friend of mine, he's like, well, what don't you like about it? I said, here's a scenario. Will has to go to the bathroom. Insert disaster here now becomes a race against the clock to make sure he gets enough toilet paper or everybody's going to die. That's kind of the way the show goes. It's like, I'm just going to go, over here about 100 yards and do this. And 99 yards in, everything goes to hell. Nobody knows where they are. It's a race against the clock. They're going to die. It's like, they were just taking out the trash. Seriously? Can we just not do this? Yeah, it was just one of those. I get it. It's episodic. You want some drama, but some of the scenarios they went out of their way to make sure these idiots got into trouble.
Well, and so
Yes.
I understand that it's episodic, and yes, I understand that you need cliffhangers. If it is a standard produced show where you have to convince somebody to tune back in next week. But this is Netflix. This was on Netflix from the beginning. This was created for Netflix. You don't need that because they're already going to watch the next episode right away. They can see, they can
You
watch.
can treat it like it's a 10-hour movie.
Exactly. That's how, and the really good stuff on Netflix, the Netflix original stuff that's really good, that's how it's done. It's a 10-hour movie or an 8-hour movie or a 12-hour movie. It's all together. Or in the case of like Daredevil, where they've broken it up into two. So you have the first half, you have the second half, and they connect, but you could watch the first half and be like, okay, that's a good place to step back, take a nap, come back and watch the next 6 hours. You know, they could have done that here, and they didn't.
Okay, so that's number 2, what I didn't like. Number 3 that I didn't like, and I kind of alluded to it with number 2, they created this Jupiter program from the best of the best. The smartest of the smart, to make sure, you know, we can keep the colony going and humans don't die out. So we're surrounded by super smart, self-sufficient people who make the dumbest decisions in the history of humankind. Yeah. It's like, for a bunch of smart people, you are a bunch of dummies.
Yeah.
And it's continual. It's like, I don't know. I think some of it is because maybe they're so smart they don't understand humans. I guess maybe they're a bunch of Sheldons when it comes to interaction.
Yeah.
I don't know, because they fell for Dr. Smith's stuff way too often. They were way too trusting. They just did dumb stuff. So I was really annoyed by that.
And on that same note, I wish early on, like, and based off of what you say there, this kind of ruins some of the end for me, because what I was hoping was that eventually, right now, or first half, they're very trusting of Dr. Smith and not trusting of the robot, and that you could see good writing would be for the first half of it, that's the way it is, and then all of a sudden that starts to flip, because they were really trusting at the beginning of Dr. Smith because she's human, and they know they know her, and they think they know her, and she's one of them, and they don't trust the robot because he's alien, and they don't know anything about him, and then you see that dichotomy flip. That would be, to me, that would be good writing. It doesn't sound like that's the case.
Well, I guess it's bad writing, because what they did is, we don't trust the robot, but we're totally going to let our 10-year-old son hang out with the robot by himself.
Yeah.
And they'd be like doing stuff on the ship, and like, oh, by the way, where's Will? I don't know. He left with the robot like 7 hours ago. I didn't pay any attention. It's like, what? You don't fucking trust this robot, but you're totally going to just let him be by himself with it.
Right.
What are you doing, dumbasses?
Yes. Yeah. You can't blame the Runaways for being stupid and then not blame these people for being stupid.
Oh, yeah. There was just some stuff. And I know what the writers are trying to do, but they didn't think it fully through. I mean, it's like, nobody trusts, and you're on a planet, nobody knows what this planet is. You don't know what's out there. You know nothing.
And
Oh yeah. Well, just I'll ignore the 10-year-old for a while
yeah.
and just let him go do his own thing.
Well, and even the robot saying "Danger, Will Robinson" was anticlimactic.
Yeah.
Like, because it doesn't say anything else, saying "Danger, Will Robinson" doesn't actually make sense. In the original one, the robot talked all the freaking time.
Yeah.
Like, it was a constant, like, it was their source of information. It was like the smartest person on the ship. It always gave, it was like a sentient, computer program. You know, it was always helpful. It just couldn't do a whole lot because it was like a tin can on wheels.
Yeah.
And it would always be able to anticipate that there was a problem and would say "Danger, Will Robinson." And that was cool. That played into it. But now with the robot, it can't talk and has no way to communicate.
But it can say Danger Will Robinson.
Except it knows exactly when there's a problem, and it can say "Danger, Will Robinson," even though, and maybe I should go back and watch it again, but I don't actually think Will Robinson ever said, "Hi, robot, my name is Will Robinson."
I don't remember if he did either.
I think he might have said his name was Will, but I don't know that he ever said, "I'm Will Robinson."
Probably not.
Before the robot said, "Danger, Will Robinson," which
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure was the first time he saw the robot.
Yeah. I don't know. I'll have to go back and look. So
Anyway, what else you got for
there
me?
was all that stupidity, and there's a lot of it. So those three things is what really caused me to struggle to finish this show. The things I liked, loved the robot.
Yeah.
Even though we just dissed him for only being able to say "I am Groot." I mean, Danger Will Robinson.
Yeah.
But I liked his.
You can't even give him the "I am Groot" comparison, because "I am Groot," at least Groot says that all the time. Every time he's asked a question, "I am Groot." Now, if the robot in Lost in Space said, when they looked at him and said, "Hey, what color is the sky?" and it said "Danger, Will Robinson," then we could go with, "Oh, it's as cool as Groot." No, it's not even as cool as Groot, because it can't do anything.
Okay, I'll give you that one. But I do like the robot.
I like the robot too.
I love the design.
Yes.
I liked his loyalty to Will Robinson.
I even like the first time that Will sees it and it's in two pieces, but the things are still kind of living in two pieces, and like, I loved that idea. I loved the fact that it had like spider-like, like had like 4 arms and crazy legs, and then all of a sudden it like transformed into the humanoid looking thing that it is. I loved that part. That part I was excited for. I would like to see it even change more,
Yeah, so the robot, fantastic. Love the robot. Some things happened with the robot later in the season you're going to absolutely hate.
Yeah,
but
I'm not surprised.
They fixed themselves at the end, so I'm good with the robot. The second thing I really liked about the show was the girl who played Penny Robinson, Mina Sunwall. I think Penny Robinson was the only real person on the show.
Yes.
She was a teenage girl and acted like it.
Yes.
She was sarcastic. She defied her parents. She was everything you thought somebody her age should be.
Yeah. Yeah.
And she was great.
I love like one of the parts where the mom and dad left. Granted, it's early on, so it's when they go to meet the other ships that they've found. And she's like sitting in the like cockpit, like helm area, and she's like, "Yeah, don't bring me along. That's fine. I'll just, I'm not gonna do anything except, be heroic like I've been, this entire time." And it's like, yeah, you're right. You're the only one that's actually saved anything this entire time. Without you, they'd all be dead. Every single one of them would have been dead. It's like, yeah. And they
And I
even
know
give
you're supposed to like the kid. You know,
the boy
I think
in the
they, I
middle.
think they wrote it so you're supposed to really like the kid. I got pretty annoyed with the kid a few times, but I really liked Penny.
Yes, yeah.
Just really liked Penny. The dad, I've always liked Toby Stevens. I think he's a solid actor. I think the role they gave him, I think he played it pretty well.
I'd like to know more of his backstory. Do you get to find out more of his
You get
backstory?
a little bit more, but it's not a ton.
Because I mean, you
But
obviously he's ex-military, you know, or
actually,
not ex,
current
or yeah,
military, yeah.
current military. You know, I like the, and I do like some of the writing. You know, I like the dynamic of the dad and the mom are having marital problems, but they went on this trip. You know, they went on this thing to kind of, you know, to almost kind of start over, but for their own different reasons. And you know, they, at least to the point that I'm at, they've kind of started to like, you know, they started to get over themselves. You know, like get to actually like, okay, you know what, we are supposed to start over. Let's just start over. You know, type thing. I like that part of it. I don't know if they're going to keep that going or not, but I like
They
that
do,
part
and
of the
they handle
writing.
it really well.
That's good. That's good because
Yeah, they actually handle that storyline with those two really well.
and and I even like Molly Parker who plays
Yes.
Maureen. Like I like her too. Like she's, I don't think the acting is bad. I think the writing is what hurts it more than the acting. I think the acting is really good.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Well, the writing causes. So if you drive on the Missouri side in Kansas City after the winter's over, there's so many potholes that you pretty much could just injure your car,
Mhm.
or you just have to drive kind of zigzag. The plot holes in this writing
Yeah,
is pretty
yes.
similar to that.
Yeah.
So, um, the older sister, I think she's older,
Yes.
Judy Robinson.
Yeah, she is.
I actually liked her until you haven't gotten to that episode yet. She makes the worst decision in the history of bad decisions. And I get it. She's like 17 or whatever the hell she's supposed to be. But
18. I
she's
think she's
also a
18. 18
doctor.
or 19.
So
Yeah.
you're supposed to believe that she has the maturity level to work on human patients, but she didn't have the maturity level to make that decision. I found it hard to swallow. And then the nonchalance of when the decision blows up in everybody's face and nobody got in her face and dressed her down for it. That annoyed me. I've been like, I would have strangled this girl. She pretty much killed the human race. I would have taken it out on her, honestly. But nobody did.
Now
They're like, oh well, she tried. It's like, no, she fucking blew it. But you'll see what I'm talking about. Back to the positives.
Okay. All right.
Okay, so positive 1, the robot. Positive 2, Penny.
Yes.
Positive 3 is the last episode.
Oh, okay.
The whole thing is this buildup of frustration and just pisses you off, and then the last episode you're like, oh, thank God, because now I want to watch season 2.
Okay.
Yeah. It finally gets to the point where you're like, well, this is what it should have been in the first fucking place. So season 2 is going to be outstanding, but we had to suffer through season 1 to get there. So I guess they wanted to develop the characters, but the episode 10 of season 1 is where all comes together and becomes Lost in Space. And you really like Don West even more after the last episode. So, if you're struggling to get through this thing, I'm telling you the payoff is the last episode.
All right.
You got silent on me.
Well, it's
Yep.
yeah, yeah. I'm speechless. It's since I'm halfway through, and I've only got half-ish way through. I've only got 5 or 6 more episodes to get to that. That final episode that you say it's all there. Maybe I'll actually be able to get there. But man, is it hard.
And there's
And
a
it
couple
shouldn't be this
episodes.
hard.
Okay, so this is how it went at our house. We watched episode 1, and I'm like, oh, this is great. And my wife's like, no, I don't want to watch this anymore. It's like, really? I think this is great. She's like, all right, we'll continue. We watched episode 2. We're both kind of like, yeah, this is pretty good. She moved back up to where I was. By episode 4, she's loving it, and I'm like, I don't think I can watch this anymore. She's like, really? I'm loving it. It's like, this is horrible. I'm hating this show. And I think we made it to episode 5, and I'm like, I'm done. I am absolutely just done with this show. And then talked to my friend Jason. He's like, no. He's like, the payoff is there. You just got to stick through it. And I read some things online, said the same thing. It's like, all right. So we went back. And by episode 8, I'm like, there better be a big fucking payoff. I am pissed. I am so mad at this show. And it's because of Dr. Smith. And you'll see. You'll get there too. And then after episode 10, I was like, okay, it was worth it. It was, I can't believe I'm going to say this, but it was worth getting through it.
Does she get left on the planet and they get to leave?
No, she doesn't get left. But
does she die?
No. She's going to be a problem throughout the entire show. That's her job. But
see, that's where that doesn't need to be, and maybe, and this is okay, and this is where, because I was thinking about this the other day when we said we were going to have this conversation about Lost in Space, and this is where I came to the conclusion, and even talking tonight, I think that my thought process is jaded, because in Lost in Space, the way I remember it, the original one, when I watched it as a kid, I don't remember Dr. Smith continually being the problem.
No, he was a problem once.
Yeah.
And then he's like, the rest of the series, he was just a coward.
Yeah, but he
was not a saboteur anymore.
No. He needed everyone else to succeed, because he realized it was almost like a switch flipped in his brain, like, oh shit, I screwed this up. Now if I don't at least work with these people, I'm going to die just like them.
Yeah.
I didn't really
My fate
think
is tied to theirs, yep.
So now I need to be part of the group. And no, he was never he was never the focal point. He was never the go out and do things. He was not the most important person. He wasn't the hero of the show, but he also wasn't the villain.
No, he was comic relief, mostly.
Yeah, and in this show, I feel like Dr. Smith is actually the villain of the show.
She is, yeah.
And that, to me, is, that's the wrong feeling for somebody who's lost in space.
Well, I think her attitude... You hear that? My cat just hissed. Just talking about Dr. Smith even pisses off my cats. I think her attitude is going to have to change. Hopefully the writers see that, because they are no longer with the colony anymore. They are truly on their own in this ship. So hopefully the writers see that and write it accordingly, because it needs to change. They cannot continue with her being a saboteur, because people will stop watching the show.
Yeah.
Because, like you said, her fate is tied to their fate, and if she continues to sabotage them, she's killing herself.
Yeah.
It makes zero sense.
And
They need to fix that.
there is no human being in the world that would do that. Like that is like if your choice is to work with these people and live or work against these people and die, self-preservation will
Yeah.
kick in. If you were suicidal, you would just kill yourself and you wouldn't care
Leave
about the other
everybody
people.
alone, yeah.
So she can't be suicidal. She wants to live. Therefore, self-preservation is supposed to be her main focal point, not anything else. She has to be able to survive. And ruining everyone else does not help her survive. So
Exactly.
I
That's why I struggled with Dr. Smith.
yeah.
I think season 2 is she's going to be tolerable.
Okay.
I think I maybe this is just wishful thinking, but I think she's going to fit in more into the mold of what Dr. Smith was in 1965. At least I hope so, because now the writing is definitely in big bold letters on the wall saying your fate is tied with their fate. Don't fuck this up. It didn't make any sense. I think they just thought, hey, this works. Let's do that. And it's like, no, this is dumb. Stop it. But I think now that they're on the ship and they're truly lost in space, there has to be a shift.
All right.
Otherwise, season 2 is going to be ruined.
All right. Well,
But
I guess we'll see what happens.
the way it ends, it gave me this hope that yes, we're going to finally get to see Lost in Space. I have to wait till next year, but we're finally going to get to see it.
I was going to say, has there been a date set for that yet?
No, and I don't even know if it's been renewed. I need to look that up. It was actually so much of a roller coaster getting through it that when it was over with, I was kind of just relieved. I know that doesn't make any sense, but
No, it makes perfect sense because that's kind of how I'm feeling right now. So,
yeah, it's a tough slog, but I think the payoff is there. And there are some episodes where you're like, that was a pretty good episode. I enjoyed that. Then there's some episodes where I just wanted to throw the TV out the window. And I actually just wanted to fly to Hollywood and strangle Dr. Smith myself and just end the suffering. But I think it's going to work out. It says here season 2 is going to be either late 2019 or early 2020. So we may end up having to wait 2 years. But it's just one of those shows that I think they decided we're going to make season 1 the origin story, and then we'll get to business. And then it kind of flopped. The origin went on way too long. You got tired of it. I even told my wife one time, I said, the worst thing about this show is there's other people. There shouldn't be other people. The whole thing behind Lost in Space was there was a family, there was Don West and Dr. Smith, and that is it.
Yeah.
They're on their own. They're trying to figure things out. That's the way it should have been. Not, oh, look, another Jupiter aircraft over here. Yay, we're saved. No. Yeah. Get away from that. Get them out in space. Let's visit some exotic planets. Let's have a good time with this show. Yeah. But the origin story went 10 episodes, and it was way too much.
Yeah. Well, there's one deciding factor that is that might actually push me to finishing this. I've got basically 2 months before the next Netflix show that I want to watch, that I know of, that's coming out, and that's Luke Cage. So,
okay.
Have you seen the trailer for Luke Cage?
I have not yet. I've been traveling. I've missed it.
You'll have to go after this. Just go to our Facebook page, because there's a link to the trailer in our Facebook page. those of you listening, go check out Geekvice on Facebook, and you can check out the trailer for Luke Cage Season 2. It comes out June 22nd of this year.
So the question is, was that segue intentional? No,
Maybe.
it was not.
Yeah, well, maybe a little bit. Maybe a little bit. Because I wanted to throw that out there. And
let's go watch it, because I'm going to.
We're getting to the point where we were going to have to wrap up this show, so I wanted to throw out the Luke Cage trailer, because it's freaking awesome. Oh, I
Luke Cage is the best. I like it, Luke Cage.
This looks like a really good show. It's going to be interesting. So, yeah, go watch that. We could talk about that next week. We could talk about that a little bit more. Also, next week, fingers crossed, we might be talking Infinity War, because I might have actually watched it.
Okay, I hope so.
Fingers crossed. Fingers crossed.
Okay, so before you go see Infinity Wars, did you read Infinity Gauntlet?
A long time ago.
Okay.
So
I want to know how close you think it followed that.
Okay.
So
I might have
a friend of mine thinks it went pretty true to it, but we'll see.
Okay. I think I actually have all those comics, and I think I've actually converted them to be digital so I can read them on my tablet. So I might actually have to put that reading list together and put that on my tablet. Maybe I can try to get that read too before next week.
There you go.
So we'll or might just have to do a little Cliff Notes version. But yeah, first thing is I got to make sure I can find like the 7 hours I need to be able to watch this movie. So, because it's long, it's almost 3 hours long.
Yeah, it goes fast though.
Yeah. Oh, I'm sure it does. I mean,
it doesn't feel like 2.5 hours long, and you're like, holy crap, it's over.
I've heard nothing but good things about it, and it's broken records upon records, so I need to go see it. I'm hoping to be able to see that before we record next week, so fingers crossed.
I hope so, because I really want to talk to you about it.
All right.
And enough time will go by that we can spoil the hell out of it at that time.
Exactly. One advantage is to me being a schmuck that doesn't see things opening night.
See, it works out.
There's some pluses to it, right?
Absolutely.
All right. This is where we're going to wrap it up. Make sure you guys go check out our blog at geekvice.blogspot.com. Make sure you follow us on Facebook at facebook.com/geekvice. You can also subscribe to our YouTube channel, tinyurl.com/geekvice, or just go through our Facebook page too. There's a YouTube tab in our Facebook page. That'll get you all the stuff there too. Twitter, you can follow us on Twitter. That man over there at Kip Killigan. You can follow me at Geekvice. And oh yeah, of course, as always, you can email us at geekvice@gmail.com. Thanks everyone for listening to our ramblings, and we will see you next time.
Laters.
This podcast is part of the Podcast Arcade Network.
Done.
Sweet.